Welcome to the Two Boots Word Vault podcast. On March 26th, 2026, I was joined by poets Jesse Dermody and Scott Vetsch at Wussow's Concert Cafe in Duluth, Minnesota. I hadn't read poems in Duluth since 1986. It was a real pleasure to bring our scrum format to Duluth, thanks to Jesse's efforts. The audience seemed to really enjoy the hour, and we three poets had a great time, and I loved the poetry of my friends. I hope you enjoy it too.
Well, welcome everybody. Coming out to the scrum tonight. My name is Jesse Dermody. To my left is Timothy Young, and to my right is Scott Vetsch. I happen to be sandwiched between two of my favorite poets, so I'm pretty happy guy tonight. And we are going to do a scrum. If you don't know exactly what that is, Mr. Timothy Young is the inventor of it, our partial inventor, and he will describe what's up.
Well, it's good to be here, and I want to thank the Wussow's Cafe for having us here. About 15 years ago, a friend of mine and I, our poet Thomas R. Smith, decided we got tired of boring old poetry readings where people just go up and they do 15 minutes of their own little personal thing, then they go back and sit down and there's not a lot of interaction. So we came up with what we call a poetry scrum. And it's almost improv. We don't know what's going to happen here, but one of us is going to start, and then the next one is going to take a cue from that person, and we have to pull something out of our own books, our own work, whatever it is, and hopefully some sort of vibe develops. But I need something, and I need a color. So this gentleman over here, leaning up against the wall, give me a color.
Always blue.
What's that?
Always blue.
Blue? Okay. So, Scott, do you have a poem that has blue in it?
Blue.
We'll each do a poem that has something blue in it, and then after I finish my poem, you take your cue from my poem to go to the next place.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Blue, that's a tough one.
Come on.
Okay.
You mean you don't have any skies in any of your work?
I got one. Gotta be there. Where'd it go? There it is. I'm hoping it's in here. There's a lot of sky in it anyway.
Yeah.
It's called Serpentine. Mr. Clean was a product, a toilet cleaner. TV ads said it cleaned like a white tornado. Mr. Clean was a white guy with a shaven head and a big gold earring. I never figured out what he was supposed to be. I never figured out he was supposed to be a genie blasting out of a bottle to battle dirt and stains.
No, I can either.
I was more focused on the tornado part, a thing I was familiar with. It was the summer of 1966, a Saturday afternoon, and we were under a tornado watch. That terrible warning that blared from WCCO radio. It was a year after record floods and devastating tornadoes hit our region. We were primed for disaster. The only genies I'd ever seen were on TV. They were turbaned and untrustworthy, might give you 3 wishes or cut off your head if you asked wrong. I Dream of Jeannie was Caucasian too, but there was nothing weird about that. All our gods and heroes were white, even if they really weren't. Mr. Clean should have looked more like Cassius Clay, not Yul Brenner, but that's how we are. Like the empires before us, we take gods from the vanquished and we make them our own. I was looking out the kitchen window and Mom was doing dishes. The sun was shining, clouds puffy and thick. I thought I saw a finger-like shape descending in the direction of Osseo. Tornadoes were like nuclear war, or the abominable snowman from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It was something you didn't want to see, even if you kind of really did. The cloud finger was getting longer, but I didn't believe it, like the time we ran home and told our parents we saw a bear down by the river. I said, "Mom, is that a tornado?" She didn't even look up, just replied, "I don't think so." Dad was mowing the backyard. I saw him in the distance, crossing it with each swath he made. Mom looked up again, and suddenly, without a word, she was out the door, running toward him. I was a kid, never right about anything. Through the window, I saw Mom get Dad's attention. She pointed to the horizon, and I saw him turn, shade his eyes, and study the sky. I never saw Dad run. He wasn't a guy who was ever in that much of a hurry. But they were running now. That was the moment I realized I was right. It was a tornado, stretched out like a snake, reaching for the ground. The sun shone and the tornado wasn't black and terrible like the ones I'd seen in books. It was white, like the one in the Mr. Clean commercial. It hadn't touched the ground yet, wasn't full of dirt and debris, but I kind of wished it was. Like that evening, days before Christmas, when I looked out that very window to see the Fetterman's house on fire, flames shooting out the windows, burning as bright as a jack-o'-lantern in the darkness. Mom said they weren't home, but I kind of wished they were. Firemen kicking down the door, pulling them from the ruins. My fascination with catastrophe had to be content imagining their Christmas tree and all their presents destroyed. That tornado never turned black, just slithered back into the clouds and left us pretty much as we were. Mom went back to her dishes. Dad started the mower, and I kept watch, hoping it might come back. There wasn't any blue in there, sorry.
I did hear the word sky.
Okay, yes, that's true.
This one has blue in it, blue irises, and has the color red and emerald as well. And it's called The House of Father Lacroix in Auvers, which I think is in Provence, France. And it's after a painting by Paul Cézanne.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll just move it. Such lush emerald paintbrush slashes of the forest canopy, and the gnarled garden that is in front of the stone house, the blue irises and the orange daylilies and their spear-shaped leaves, the rickety garden fence to keep out rabbits, hedgehogs, and other thieves. All these serve as a warning to those who don't prefer the intensity of love and the steadfast endurance of devotion. This is all about flame, all about sharp shapes, all about the scratch and allure of the artist's abode. The red roof will suddenly cave, but only on those with dulled senses. There is a danger here. The first and second story windows are watchful eyes. The front door, though askew, though closed, may open at any moment and puke epiphanies of color. The artist may walk out that same door and into the garden, stoop to sniff the blue irises and pick carrots and beets from the brown flames of the earth.
So I'm going to go in a completely different mode, but the word blue is in there. This is called John at the piano. John's hands are tarantulas that skitter over the ivories. His beret-laden, all-souls skull hangs from music's rear-view mirror. What does he see with his eyes so wide? The blues and the fist behind the blues. His voice and herky-jerky piano are road bricks thrown at you like some shoeshine's prophecy. He doesn't embrace the world. He can't get comfortable in the world, but he's right behind it. Between sets, he walks across the road, hunched, with his hands in his pockets. You watch him wrestle with his soul as he bends over a bridge railing and looks down on the Mississippi River as if it were carrying off his wife. That piano player actually, his wife actually jumped off the bridge. But I didn't want to go that deep into those blues. Yeah, what'd you pick up?
I guess I can do this one because the river's in it.
Okay. We're in the flow.
This is called the Oracle Saloon. It was the perfect temperature for scared cattle. They faced away from their jobs, milk laced with fentanyl, cups mounded with woke meal. Even now, the Crow River ran muddy. There used to be lots of cattle up the Crow, not sure what wallows up there now. Jerry said LSD was the king of kings. When you needed a different god, the void was an all right second choice, inscrutable as fire. He was 100% sure you could cross the log on it. In those days, when we talked about God, we talked about fire. Jerry's band had a full-size cross-dressing ventriloquist dummy as lead singer. He stitched her together from seed sacks, stuffed her full of planer shavings from his old man's shop. He called her Florence like B.B. King named his beloved Lucille. We were drinking at the Oracle, backs to the stage while Jerry played, but his imagination wound us downstream to that fenced-off point where the rum met the Mississippi, where the sewage plant dirtied the flow. Looks like I'll have to put on my drinking in the raincoat again, he twanged, hitting that final suspended chord. Where'd it go? I lost it.
Suspended.
Suspended. Oh, there it is. He leaned back and offered Florence a cigarette. Not every truth made great literature. Prior to the fire, his body was so good at doing what it did, he couldn't even feel when it happened, like all the languages he forgot that he spoke. As their fame grew, his seed art dreams receded into a post-adolescent sunset. He became our very own punk rock Geppetto. Between gigs, he sculpted Florence into a fragrant CrossFit bitch with a broken poker, anchor tattoos stitched into her breasts, arms like ripped ricotta. Jerry billed the whole thing as 2-dog night, but everyone knew you could fit 5 dogs in there easy. The bar blazed with longtime friends and short-time lovers, a confusement park of passion. Back arched, Jerry raised a trumpet to the stars and stomped his kick drum's pedal. Florence sat on his knee, sweet as fireball, gone as a hot dog in the fire. By last call, she'd kicked down everyone's doors and dragged our souls all the way back to Totem Town. Unpin my wings, she crooned and lit a match, flashing that crazy-ass smile. I wanted it to last forever. But back in the kitchen, the cook was in a foul mood, banging his spatula on the grill like he was Neil Peart, grease spattering in the flames, deep fryers bogged down like freighted tugs. That's when I knew there was nothing we could do. Nothing but flag down the waitress and order a last round of battered cod before it was too late. Mississippi. You never know what you're going to do.
No.
So, man. I had other intentions until you mentioned Neil Peart.
Good, man. Oh, you're the drummer.
And, well, see, I drum, and I've been compared to Animal from the Muppets many, many times, and I will own that.
Yeah.
So, I think I was telling Tim here a couple of years ago that I wasn't going to just go off of Facebook because I was tired of it. And then later that day I went on Facebook, and because I was just curious of what was going on anyways, and a friend posted a meme that said, "Explain what you do in life as poorly as possible." And I thought, that's a go. And this is what came of that. And so this is entitled "A Very Poor Explanation of What I Do," and "Are Nada Who Art in Nada." Ernest Hemingway wrote that in Old Man and the Sea. I put on my boots before I start doing stuff in general. Sometimes my feet itch. Other times, I make softly sweet scratching sounds on white stuff. And then again, animal is my friend. Hand in pink hand, we frolic and hop as we do what we do, a grunt, or a series of mouthy clicks and funny faces can mean many intense things. Go, do things, nada is the way.
All right. Well, you mentioned animal. So I'm going to do this poem about a horse. This is called Rostar. And Rostar was the name of our first horse. And the inspiration for this was a painting in the cave of Lascaux, which was done like 20,000 years ago, one of those cave paintings, and it was a red horse. So, the red horse in Lascaux. The red horse could be the ancestor of our first horse, Rostar. His coloring was the same reddish brown with a black mane. Rostar was an Arab thoroughbred with an antsy internal fire. The first time I rode him, he threw me into a snowbank along the creek road. Then he stared at me and tested my grit. Many times he tried again, but never succeeded. I learned his tricks, his grasshopper emotions, his sideways starts, and I love his glorious Egyptian rearing. I feel his spirit stretching back into that cave at Lascaux. That unpredictable spirit overcomes my grandson when he starts to dance sideways. He's a thoroughbred at the starting gate, and great bowls of fire open in my granddaughter's eyes. My raspberry patch is heavy with the year's first fruits. Canes scratch my arms as I pick sweet berries in the breeze. The red explosions on my tongue are worth any discomfort. Once raspberry roots find their place, they never lose their spirit. The soil's flavors, the sky's moistures, the dancing breezes, they transform raspberry bushes into green, root-thrown exuberance. Timothy, you felt Rostar's gumption between your legs. You see it in the painted cave. You catch it in the hug, and you taste it in the raspberry ice cream that you share with your grandchildren.
So now I'm torn between raspberries and horses. Will I ever get another chance to do either? Well, we'll go with raspberries then. Loaves and fishes. It was just me and Lutz. Everyone else was off on holiday. Friday night, the two of us broke without prospects, wandering that big empty house. No wine, no beer, no smoke. As dusk settled and possibilities were exhausted, we found ourselves in his room. in the corner with the sofa and the stereo. On his tape deck, we listened to bootlegs of the Grateful Dead and other San Francisco guilty pleasures, and thus, inspired, employed pocket knives and wire to scrape and collect the accumulated tar from his collection of pipes and bongs. Purpose renewed, we steeped a pot of tea and torched up the acrid tar. Passing it between us, we soon were laughing and telling stories. The sofa we sat on and the cluttered coffee table below had been the site of many rolled joints. Spillage was inevitable. Green buds snapping between the fingertips, stems discarded, crumbled chunks of greenish gold hashish escaping careful scrutiny. Sensing salvation, we speculated that the carpet beneath our feet could be a potential gold mine of THC. We pushed the coffee table aside. On hands and knees, we combed the fibers for lost nuggets and vegetable matter. Stoned and ecstatic, our bowl was filled again and again. In our exuberance, we overlooked one truth. This was a commune with loose focus and lack of purpose. We raised chickens and ducks. 2 goats were staked out daily to graze. The whole menagerie wandered at will. Their droppings, green and fibrous, filled the treads of shoes, and once dry, fell out again. A phenomenon appeared. I first noticed picking raspberries. Bucket in hand, facing a tangle of canes, I chose ripe berries. That's easy. Just pick the ripe ones. But as ripe berries filled the bucket, less ripe berries on the vine began looking ripe. And suddenly, the entire perception of ripe was lost. The longer we picked, the greater quantities of hashish we found. Holding the crumbled chunks in my hand, I could no longer separate the weed from the chaff. Infused with the spirit, we smoked, and it was a miracle. Thanks, Jim.
I almost got high listening.
I must be had to choose this next poem.
Oh, good.
Red raspberries, there's a red circle,
Oh.
and there's a mango.
Oh.
And this is entitled Green Countryside and Red Circle. And it has good exit strategy. My mango-headed love, dark brown, wavy hair, somber in the dusty, dirty, dark green night. In my lap, I hold the central glow of your fruit. I bend my neck and suck your soulful juiciness and get sticky lips from your pulp. On the other side of darkness is a red circle aglow. A ball I touch once, waking from the dream.
Oh yeah. So I'm not gonna pick pick up mango, but I do have to tell you a story about the first time I ate a mango. I never had a mango until I went down to Mexico. And I was outdoors, and they brought over this mango, and it was cut in half, and they gave it to me. And I said, well, how do I eat it? And they said, well, you eat the whole thing. So I started eating the peeling and the juice. I ended up with Montezuma's revenge after that from eating the peeling.
Oh,
So, yeah, that was my time with mangoes. Let's see. Well, I got kind of sidetracked, but by that memory. So, all right. This is, you talked a little about flowers and things like that, so I'll use that as a cue, my prompt for this one. And this is, nothing is special, everything is. Dallas and I like to go out to Wyoming, up into the Laramie Mountains and camp. So there's a place called Esterbrook. And it's a beautiful place when it's 100 degrees down below, because it's like 75, 80 up at this campground. And many times when we've driven out west, we like to stop in the Badlands, but if it's 100, we just keep going west. Nothing is special, everything is. Esterbrook is a great surprise in the pines of the Laramie Range. The breeze hums and tickles my arms, the way a moth flits on flowers. As I walk from tree to tree, pine cones crunch beneath my boots. Green limbs, oh, you did say green in the last poem.
Get all your credit.
Yeah. Green limbs pet the sky, and large boulders twinkle in the evening. The wind crescendos, then whispers, with the static of the mountain's news, and the wind steers silence between its waves. I sit down on a quiet stone. There is nowhere better to be. With a choral craft, the birds' songs rise. When one halts its staccato response, they all stop. Then slowly they renew their chorus. All's alive, all is moving. Rejoice, O buzzing treetops. Clap and cheer, you rattling aspen. Wiggle your fronds of grassy hair, O ground plants and lobelia. Defy the stones, wild iris. You had an iris poem too. Yeah. Defy the stones, wild iris, and spray your blue spittle as you shout, Amen, amen, amen. Nothing is special. Everything is.
I'm just going to continue with things you could eat outside.
Yeah.
It's called I'm a Locavore. On Memorial Day, I watched a chipmunk run back and forth from a woodpile that appeared to be its home. The day before, maple leaves had fallen from the trees, rattling against roof and windows, winging earthwards like the driest rainstorm. The chipmunk was perched on a board, stripping each wing, husking the seed, one following the next like a machine, stuffing its cheeks into lumpy bulges. I followed his example, husked one, ate it, and then another. He was right. They were pretty good. A poor man's pine nut.
Well, I came up with something anyhow. I'll continue on with the tree thing. You mentioned maples, and I got some pine trees in this one. So pine nuts. Yeah, man. So this one is called The Large Mole on Jacques Laurent's Bald Head. And he was a great artist, and his wife was a great artist. In their heyday, they were well known. But when I met him and got to know him a little bit, he was about 80 to 84, that age range, and he wasn't so well known anymore, and he didn't really care. So here it is. The biggest, furriest mole I've ever seen is on the bald head of this old, stooped man who is a great artist. When he speaks, the mole listens. He says, "A white pine is a marvel. Even when the wildfires don't come, invisible flames jut from its green branches. Its long needles poke the ticks of time with every breeze. The Mediterranean Sea and the Sahara Desert on the other side of the sea speak salt and sand languages that the white pine understands and translates into living, conscious, pulsing branches. Branches of trunks of awareness, dipped into the semi-arid earth that so loves the roots of the white pine, it opens its soil to nourish them."
Yeah, nicely. I'm going to continue with the trees. You know, my brother Tony and I have been tapping maple trees, and we'll be boiling sap in a little while. And this is from last April. In April, the trees are gray. Even the white birch has gray stripes. The weathered 4x4s holding up the sugar shack roof has lost their color too. Winter's snowpack flattened the leaves on the forest floor, and nothing is green yet. But shoots will soon force themselves above the tan mottle. Birds will return to sing. With his old hatchet, Tony splits firewood. That wood is flesh-colored, just a bit brighter than dry leaves. His blue hoodie is the only unnatural color today. But color is coming. The land will never allow dullness to dominate year-round. The gray and tan forest doesn't need year-round rest, nor my impatience. Some folks want to hurry death to a dun-colored existence. If we're alive with purpose, do we speed up transformations? Isn't the human purpose to make beauty and praise beauty? My mother's gray hair was well earned. Mine too. Tony has a white beard, as do I and our other brothers. We've all built our dreams from colorful images of hope. Small flowers will soon bloom with wildly bright colors. In these gray woods with dun maple and wrinkly oak, the red maple buds and the green balsam remind you, Timothy, that red-bellied woodpeckers will live here with green frogs, phosphorescent worms, orange beetles, yellow fungus with red dots, and millions upon millions of purple-tipped grasses.
Well, I hope there's a tree in here, but there is an old guy and there was probably a mole on him somewhere. I didn't see it though. Frida sums it up. Great Uncle Lester never married. I guess you could call Frida the love of his life. She lived in Essig, a German town on the prairie. Lester was from Lake Hanska, a 2-bar town 12 miles south where everybody came from Trondheim. In its day, that kind of cultural miscegenation was a potent force. Brown brick beer and sauerkraut Catholicism was exciting if you were a Lutheran, used to drinking watered-down church basement coffee. I never knew about Frida. Lester came alone on holidays, never mentioned a lady friend. Mom said back when she was a kid, Lester was a real looker. When he went out dancing, it was quite a production. She remembered her grandmother heating up water on the cook stove for his Saturday night bath, and Lester parting his black hair in the mirror over the kitchen sink. I never knew him as anything but an owly old bachelor farmer in stripy overalls with a feed cap on his head and a black suit coat over that if somebody was getting baptized. He never had running water, never took down that calendar from 1941, and died addled at 87. There weren't many people at the funeral, but when Frida appeared in the back of the chapel, everyone turned to look. The director announced the viewing was over and asked the mourners to find their seats. The organist was playing the first hymn, but Frida was still in the back, so my uncle took her by the arm. They're about to close the lid on Les, he told her. You want to have a last look? No, she replied, shaking her head. I had a good look.
You mentioned a German town on the prairie,
Yeah?
and you also mentioned some dancing, so I think this one. I frustrate myself sometimes trying really hard to write about something and just failing terribly, and then I give it up, and then 6 months later, having given it up, I start writing about it again, not even knowing I'm writing about it, and then it comes, that sort of thing. But this one's entitled Angry Angels Are Laughing at Our Bad Political Poetry.
Right.
The angels aren't dancing on the heads of pins. They're too busy holding their ears in pain, laughing at our bad political poetry. The angels could flatten entire towns by flapping their wings madly, and then quickly rebuild the towns with nothing again but laughter at our bad political poetry. It would be as if nothing happened but the spruce forest and our farming of more reasons we remain at fault. Laughing at our bad political poetry, they're too preoccupied to repair worlds, holding their ears in pain.
I'm going to continue this small town dancing theme here. This one goes on a little bit longer than most of mine. This is called Yada Churns the Ritual Sea and the Maidens Rock at Ole's. On a sweltering Saturday in July in Maiden Rock, Wisconsin, in Ole's Bar, 3 musicians play just for fun. Yada sings and chords his guitar. Gib hits a small snare and hi-hat. And Steve has brought his sousaphone. When Yada begins Light My Fire, that old song is more because of our years and Steve's achy sousaphone solo. Yada strums new life into the stale words, and the memories lead our hearts to the inner dance halls and pavilions. The dark years since adolescence add shadings to the teenaged lyrics. Our knees hop, our backs swivel, and our hips begin to sway. The bar's mahogany shadows resonate like the wine glass which a nail-painted mother fingers. She once danced with a carpenter whose bold and upright legs melted against her thigh. She remembers his hand's strong grip on her future. Gib grins, raps his snare, rattles his cymbal, and embellishes Yada's strum. Melodies float like the patchouli he tasted years ago on the West Bank. Rhythms return to him. The magic is back. Through each revolution of the ceiling fan, an unseen world is glimpsed and glimpses back. Motes of light, as if distant moons reflect in a stack of cocktail glasses. There's a sing-along twinkle in everyone's eye. There's a hum above the bass notes, like an ancient chant from our cave at the bottom of the bluff. Laughter and gratitude warm the room, heat our souls, and spark divine emotion. A motorcyclist leaning in the doorway explains the Venturi effect as air rushes through the narrow opening. In the heaviest heat, when no one expects more than a cold beer, a musical magician churns the right liqueurs. Who could know that the bachelorette party would use the Venturi breeze and the Motown moves, the rock and roll brown-eyed girl with her heart thumping down in the hollow moment to descend into Ole's. The bride-to-be and her retinue entered our cavern, which is filled with the music of their elders, a tavern filled with life's ruin and resurrection, where the dartboard hangs, an unseen hurler has thrown a perfectly aimed projectile. The young women with their creamy faces and excited bodies circle the bride-to-be and push her toward a ritual chair, where she teases and admires a seated, goateed man stranger. She practices her chest rolls, the ones that will call her groom to bed, the ones she'll offer him for promises, the ones that will beckon a soul from the invisible world so that she might bring a child into this world. The Dionysian Maenads circle Yada, and he never stops strumming his guitar. He churns the ritual sea. He stirs the river's foam for Aphrodite. This is a holy gopi dream, the rite of a pre-matrimonial goddess. The young women's breasts play with Yada's knees, their sexual vessels sparking with lightning as they bob and throb and lift toward the music. It's the voices and the sousaphone's vast horn, curled like a giant goddess's vaginal tract. Venus and Isis and Ishtar arrive. Those of us with grown children remember and admire this prelude to marital matings. The tavern's entranced. The music gets higher, whistling and dancing into a cyclone as Gibb drives harder, hits the one as he should. The women dance up on the bar. Their shaking creates ecstatic displays as we elders witness the miracles. The sourest man gets laid on his feet. A prude giggles and tickles her husband. A bartender's embarrassed. The jukebox won't take money. No one goes to the bathroom. But as quickly as they arrived, the maidens return to the evening while the musicians play on and on. Who knows if they fled back to the hills, or to husbands, or to the strangers down the road. Maybe Krishna ferried them across the river. Maybe they were baptized by John. Maybe they kissed the waves on Lake Pepin, or merely drove back to the farm. Beside the Mississippi, on a hot Saturday evening, if the July sky is cloudless, if the moon is yet to rise, if each star is a dancing pearl, the music may bring you a goddess.
Well, this one might have some of the energy of that bar, and it's definitely bad political poetry. This is called Who Destroyed the Nuclear Family? It's so dumb, this crazy hive mind absorbing our singular brains like ants crawling through a multi-level concrete parking ramp. Telling myself it works till 3 a.m. when I can't sleep, trying to remember what it was like before people believed hand-cut steaks were superior to any steak stamped out by a machine, and embraced being fleeced on an industrial level. Like mink or chinchilla farms, you can cultivate anything, even raise vipers for the deep-fried rattlesnake bite market. Neon light signage blinks the coiled serpent, repeatedly striking the heel of some cartoon hillbilly. A mixed tape rapper on low battery calls out the dance. Americana jug band slings the jingle. Fascist clowns and leftist Nazis swing their partners to the popular dance hall hit. Oh, it is a bad idea, what we do. The trans woman accused of flashing her penis in an Ohio YMCA locker room is off the hook. The judge ruled she was too fat for her genitals to show, and added, after viewing the defendant, there was little to dispute the facts of the case. an Iowa man, seen pleasuring himself at the come and go all day long, it's really true, denied the charges, said he was just very itchy down there. The American male obsession with massive breasts has re-energized the annual old-fashioned Christmas by the highway. A Santa baby nativity scene with a live animal petting zoo keeps everyone happy till the wise men show up with some Vestal virgins to work the kissing booth, unveiling their inflated Botox lips. Then it's time for the late show. Milk a couple goats and call it a night. They can't all play guitars and can't all drive drunk, and most people like it that way. Just a few fireworks, a little lutefisk, and a handful of ermine cloaks. But remember, it was the Beatles, LSD, and transcendental meditation that destroyed the nuclear family. That's how Mom saw it. A nation of red squirrels hosting their own little Stalingrad, the most violent population on Earth, the most volatile weather on the planet, grim graffiti scratched across the toilet stall of an out-of-touch people, a Happy Meal rainbow swimming with purple plastic unicorns distended with spirit. I never had much spirit. Zero, really. A diet soda at the Pep Fest. A never-ready battery with zero charge. As we speak, human scat trackers are constructing a concise map of local concentrations. Concentrations inform us. Pinpoint irregularities, highlight where things happen. The kettle of fish, the box spring of bed bugs, the case of crabs. Who could foresee what 40 years of corporate mayhem would spawn? It's a real puppy mill, the proverbial kick in the pants. I started out with a battalion of pallbearers to carry my coffin, but over the years, with thousands of apologies, I still have two. Bad political poetry.
There is a sort of fest theme. You mentioned the festival in there. It's like
Festival, yeah.
Very festive, you know.
Festive.
So I thought I would totally switch gears, and both your poems have like a summery feel as well, to my senses. So this one's entitled Summertime Serenade, and it happens to be for my honey Lynette. I tell you about my dream with all the tools in my bottomless pants pockets. Several wrenches, 2 buck knives, a crowbar. You kept asking me in the dream, do you love me? Do you still love me? And you asked me in real life now, did I seem nervous? And I say, yes, I love you. And yes, you were nervous. And in the dream, I gave the needle-nose pliers from my front pocket to the man who was trying to fix the wires of the broken vocal mic. Without a working microphone, you sang a cappella to the crowd from the park's tall stage. And the tensions were grown through that we grew through together. And you were right about nature. The green in the hazel of your eyes is full of people climbing trees.
Wussow.